Back in the early 60s, Malcolm Douglas spent 4 years travelling Australia. A record of this journey is his famous adventure film, Across the Top. He hunted crocodiles for their skins at a time when the government encouraged the killing of these reptiles. When crocodiles were finally protected, they had become an endangered species, and in many areas in North Australia had been almost wiped out. Malcolm, now a conservationist, concerned about the plight of crocodiles, travelled Australia again, seeking government approval to establish a crocodile park. Here he could study these ancient reptiles and develop a breeding program. Malcolm's purpose is to encourage an appreciation and respect for these descendants of the dinosaurs. Eventually, at Broome on the northwest coast of Western Australia, with local council support, he began transforming the arid land into ecologically balanced crocodile ponds. Since 1970, when estuarine crocodiles were protected in Western Australia, their numbers have slowly increased, and now at times selected animals are removed. Malcolm's issued with special licences by the Department of Conservation and Land Management to capture problem crocs and relocate them at his park in Broome for research, breeding and public display.
Hi, I'm up on the Ord River between Kununurra and Wyndham in the top of Western Australia. I'm here to capture alive a number of very big problem saltwater crocodiles. This is a very dangerous and a very exciting adventure. Just out here in front of me, about 400 metres down, I can see the head of about a 5-metre croc, and that's one of the first ones we hope to capture.
Its huge head barely out of the water, it drifts with the current. Malcolm's after the big crocodiles that are worrying the professional barramundi fishermen. The massive reptiles have stopped the men working on this section of the Ord. It's too dangerous. The crocodiles lurk where a small tidal creek enters the main river. And Malcolm investigates any signs of activity. The belly, tail and claw marks indicate how recently a croc was here. Malcolm estimates it's only about 3 metres long, so it's not big enough to be one of the problem crocodiles, and if it's caught, will have to be released. Other signs are more gruesome, like this recently killed heifer, ripped in two and left to the voracious catfish. Experience is needed to capture exceptionally large crocs alive. 2 methods are used: rope snares and rope traps. A trench is dug that will half fill with water at high tide. A fork-shaped pole to guide the main ropes is wired into position and braced to steel posts. A heavy log is held upright by shackles and a pin. Sliding nooses run from the trench to the pole, which drops when the bait's grabbed. The snare's tested. All's well. Then comes the smelly task of getting the bait. Malcolm cuts the legs off a dead cow. Back at the snare, the nooses are set and held in place with mud, small wooden pins and fine nylon line. The bait, rotting rapidly in the tropical heat, is tied to the rope, leading to the pin that holds up the vertical log.
What's that?
Yeah. A final check of the pin and the snare's ready.
Waving around a bit, isn't it? Yeah, not...
Several snares are set where the crocs are most likely to come ashore. A rope trap's better than a snare. there's less chance of a large croc escaping. It's set at the mouth of the tidal creek. This net was spliced specially for the expedition. Suspended in a long trench, it works on the same principle as the rope snare. A heavy log drops to secure the net opening. On the high tide, wire and log wings guide the croc towards the entrance. It crawls into the half-submerged funnel at night to take the bait at the far end.
Well, we've had this huge croc up here overnight. Instead of coming in through the entrance of the trap, he's come in behind me. He's just blasted through our wings, come up here, beside me here on the right. It's a huge slide, massive great claw marks in the mud. Come up here, lunged across here, taken the old cow bait, and literally pulled the whole thing down here. Turned around here, attacked this bait, wrecked the net, can't get the bait out, and he's turned off, blasted down there and gone in the water just a few minutes before I've come up here to have a look.
At first light the following morning, Malcolm's up checking the snares. A small croc's been caught around the top jaw. It's obviously not one of the rogues, so with the help of Mike Osborne from the Department of Conservation, it's quickly released. And here's another one well snared. When approached, a trapped croc will remain perfectly still, then lash out with lightning speed. This looks easy, but Malcolm's many years spent working with crocodiles have given him the instinct to handle them safely. The noose, eased over the croc's top jaw, restrains it until it's prodded into the water and released. And in the net, a really big one. Somehow it's managed to turn back towards the entrance before being tightly restricted. This is one of the crocodiles that will have to be relocated, so the team immediately prepares to move it to the trailer. The trapping and removal of these reptiles creates so much interest that a television crew has arrived from Perth with a spokesman for the Department of Conservation and Land Management. Winched to flat ground, it's removed from the net. The reptile's front leg is missing, probably bitten off years ago in a fight, and perhaps one of the reasons for it becoming a rogue. Some people may not approve of taking problem crocodiles from the wild, but it's become a necessary conservation measure. Malcolm's the only person who's been authorised to trap these crocs in Western Australia. Moving the reptiles to the research centre in Broome is better than permitting them to be destroyed. Returning to Broome, no time's lost moving the croc into its new home. At this point, it's very tired and will not attack. Within a few months, it will have completely adjusted to its new environment. With all the disturbance back on the Ord, the other crocs will be wary, so Malcolm decides to avoid the tidal creek for several months. He packs his gear and heads north from Broome to the Aboriginal community at One Arm Point, where he's been advised that a number of crocodiles are causing concern. He catches up with his old friend David Wigan, and the conversation, as usual, is about crocodiles and all the recent sightings.
Must be about 15 years since they stopped shooting crocodiles, eh?
Yeah.
You used to shoot crocs with old Dean Brown.
Yeah.
In the last 15 years, you've seen a lot of crocs coming back here to One Arm Point.
Yeah, a lot of crocs.
But last year you had that one just down here, eh?
Just down here.
What was the story behind that? You were
well,
going to put your dinghy out.
I was going to put dinghy out there, and morning, and here I look, it drop my anchor and here comes crocodile.
Well, just coming straight up near your dinghy?
Yeah.
Where were you? Just anchored the boat out, just
Boat
from
out,
the
mangroves.
mangroves?
Yeah.
I remember you. I was here last year, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And you started up the outboard and you go straight after the croc and chase him away.
Chase him away.
Because about 5 years ago, the Bardi people here lost a young girl just down on the point. She just went swimming, and ever since the day that young girl disappeared, and I think it was a crocodile, you've been very concerned about crocs here, haven't you? And that's the reason while Mark and I have come to One Arm Point here. I come up here about once a year now and check the whole area for crocs. You reckon there's that big one too, just off the next island here? Your home country, that Sunday Island.
Sunday Island.
Now, I just drew a little map here. That's Sunday Island there, eh?
Yeah.
And you got that channel, that mangrove channel going through there. And you reckon there's a crocodile more than one or two?
More than 7. I think.
More than 7 there?
Yeah.
Around that, in that channel?
In that channel.
Yeah.
Which they can't shift anyway, unless they can shift when the tide is high, they can go over that.
Well, just back here on that little point there where that high waterfall is, that's where Moses speared that croc last year for me, that I've got down in Broome now. What, he was out after turtle?
Yeah.
And that big croc come right up behind him, just about to have a go at his dinghy, and he got this harpoon straight into that croc. But he lived all right?
Yeah, still going.
All right, tonight we're going to go out, start looking around for crocs.
Malcolm and his team spend several hours checking a number of areas to be patrolled during the night.
Now that we're up amongst the islands, we have to start the long, tedious job of looking for these crocodiles. We'll have to wait till nightfall, then with a powerful spotlight, we travel slowly around until the spotlight picks up the ruby red eyes of the croc. I'll be up the bow of the boat, and with this specially designed harpoon, I will harpoon the croc just behind the neck. There's a layer of fat there. They're very small harpoons, 3 small hooks. They will go under the skin, doesn't hurt the croc. Then the harpoon will come out, and with a bit of luck and a lot of skill, we'll be able to get the croc in the boat.
Waiting for nightfall, the men decide to check out the bays where David Wiggins recently seen crocs. Malcolm spots an aggressive mud crab. And with only one big claw, it's easily picked up. Skirting the mangroves, he searches for any sign of crocodiles. In the sand, a fresh track. It's headed for the mangroves at Malcolm's approach. So somewhere in this claustrophobic tangle of roots, there's at least one croc. It's tracked down and roped. Although not large, it'll be taken back to Broome. The local Bardi Aborigines treat saltwater crocodiles with contempt. They won't eat them, preferring turtle meat and fish. If a hunter sees a croc, he'll just kill it. With the tide rising, it's time to prepare for the long night ahead.
Pull that crocodile in, hopefully, if we remember.
Malcolm knows exactly where to lodge the harpoon without injuring the croc. The razor-sharp teeth can inflict a terrible wound, and its jaws must be promptly secured. Years ago, Malcolm was bitten on the hand by a crocodile about this size, and it was the most excruciating pain he's ever experienced.
That'll do. Oh, righto. Light down. We can get... No, that won't matter. It won't matter because it's at night. We've got to keep that light.
A larger croc, big enough to attack a human, is brought alongside at 3 a.m. This is dangerous and emotionally exhausting work.
Pick up another rope.
He must get it into the boat without injury either to himself or the croc. Malcolm knows when the croc's tired. and is able to handle it safely.
The trouble is with catching crocs is the morning after the night before. I feel terrible. Came ashore on this little island, put up this big tarp, have a bit of a sleep for an hour or two. Just got to bed, just got to sleep, and the tide came in. And now we're flooded out and it's stinging hot. We just got to pack up and go.
Back at One Arm Point, the crocs are moved to the Toyota for the trip back to Broome.
Put the camera up on. I suppose right up. No. Colours, aren't they? Come back here. Stuffed himself up. Good and proper, hasn't he?
Any slight injuries are treated.
Okay, now we'll do that.
It must be stressed that crocodiles are protected, and anyone taking or killing them is heavily fined or even jailed. Malcolm's experiences with crocodiles will add to our knowledge of the reptiles and so assist with their survival. Being cold-blooded, they'll remain quiet in the air-conditioned vehicle. Along the way, a stop at the local school is appreciated by the teachers and children. With crocodile numbers increasing, the Bardi Aborigines must, in time, learn to live with and accept these reptiles. The smaller crocs are released into a new pond. The larger female is placed with a young male. It's expected that she will breed within a year or two. Crocodiles are very possessive of their ponds and their territory, and normally will not allow another crocodile into their domain except during the mating season. These two young males are disputing territory, but they're not big enough to really hurt one another. This is a classic confrontation. The smaller female is lifting her head and tail to show how big she is, and the larger male shows who's boss. Development of the park is a major undertaking. The porous grounds covered with plastic liners. Smaller ponds are concrete lined. The larger ones are backfilled with soil mixed with dry cement and compacted. The ponds are fenced with specially manufactured heavy-duty chain mesh. Water, vital in such an arid environment, is pumped from an underground supply. All kinds of living creatures come into the fresh water. Every morning, swallows arrive for a fleeting drink. Within a year, lush vegetation surrounds the ponds. The soil excavated from the ponds is an excellent building material. Mixed with a small percentage of cement and compressed, it makes solid and attractive walls. Rammed earth is one of the world's oldest building techniques, and together with modern building methods, makes the ideal home for a hot climate. Whenever work's in progress, a variety of animals is discovered, and Malcolm spends much of his time rescuing them. The harmless Burton's legless lizards are often mistaken for snakes. A northern blue-tongue lizard, confused by all the digging, is rescued just in time. Centipedes are common and rush about frantically looking for protection from the hot sun. They're perfectly designed for burrowing. This small, rarely seen half-girdled snake, although poisonous, is harmless to man. It has a hard nose for pushing into the sand. The legless lizard uses its broad, fleshy tongue as a windscreen wiper to clean its eyes. A gecko, like the legless lizards, has a fixed transparent disc covering each eye, which it cleans regularly with its tongue. Nocturnal in habit, geckos are not normally seen during the day, preferring to avoid the sunlight. This western bearded dragon, although small, defends himself fearlessly. There's always work to do at the park. Malcolm has to check one of his male crocs, Big Bomber. His pond's been pumped dry and he's very angry. Crocodiles roll violently when they seize large prey or when they're restrained. A short length of rope is tangled around Big Bomber's top jaw and the skin's beginning to grow over. It must be removed.
Can you give it a real pull?
A knife tied to a long pole slowly releases the annoyance.
Do you want to end over there?
Big Bomber rests after the ordeal, while Claw, the young female, cools off. The men, knowing exactly where the crocs are, take the opportunity to remove a noxious plant that's taking hold in the ponds. Another problem. One of the crocodiles is sick and needs medication. A salty brought in from the wild several months earlier has been kept in a pond that can be drained for observation. Crocodiles rarely become ill in captivity, but this one has the symptoms of an internal injury. There's little information about medical treatment for large crocodiles, but Malcolm knows from experience that substantial doses of penicillin can be beneficial.
Righto. Slinging something onto a roof, isn't it? Now I'm going to get a crack of you, but I was on that rope. All we're going to do is get a crocodile on there.
Well, you've got to make sure that all these sling ropes are out of the way.
Yeah, I've got these, man. Way back.
You're helping along in my roll.
2 weeks later, the sick croc's condition deteriorates, so it's decided to move it to a larger pond, where it may feel more secure in deeper, colder water. It's now very weak and lethargic and puts up no resistance when it's rolled onto the net. With the big crane, the patient is moved quickly and comfortably.
Half a metre that way.
5 months after this last shot of penicillin, the croc eats again and fully recovers. Once again, the team's been asked to capture a number of crocs, but this time they don't head for the coast. They set off inland.
We've just arrived at Camballan on the Fitzroy River. The river here has been dammed, formed a large lake, and there are a lot of freshwater crocodiles here. The Department of Conservation has asked me to capture 6 freshwater crocodiles and take them down to Broome so the travelling public can see the difference between the timid freshwater crocodile and the more aggressive saltwater croc. Peter on my right from the Department of Fisheries has come along to give me a hand, and it's just a matter now of running the nets in the lake and watching the net very carefully, and as soon as the croc hits the net we can paddle over, rope it up and pack it in the back of the vehicle.
The men paddle along the lake until a good spot's found to run a net. From a distance, the floats are watched constantly, and as soon as there's any movement signalling a catch, the croc must be hauled up before it drowns. This is a Johnson River freshwater crocodile, and they're found only in northern Australia. The bigger saltwater croc ranges through a number of Asian and Pacific countries.
All right, I think that'll do us.
The freshie is not considered dangerous to man, but its teeth are needle sharp for snapping at fish. Very aggressive when captured, they must be well secured. Peter Johnson, the local fisheries inspector, has come along to help and make sure that any protected species of fish trapped in the net are quickly released. The freshwater croc, identified by the long, slender snout, normally grows to about 3 metres. The beak-like snout of the freshwater long tom gives it a fantastic prehistoric appearance. The freshies are checked to make sure that they're fit and well. The trussed crocs are kept quiet in the shade until the team's ready to leave. Malcolm and Peter have received a radio message that a large freshwater croc's isolated in a drying waterhole about 30 kilometres from the Fitzroy River. So they drive out to investigate. It's sighted immediately in the shallow, muddy water, and the net's stretched into place.
Two blokes end up sort of tripping over it.
Yeah, I'll just slip it over to you.
It's big for a freshwater croc and very defiant. The wily croc pushes under the net and several hours elapse before he's meshed. Malcolm's surprised by the freshie's apparent age and size, although it's obviously weak from starvation.
Ah, steady, mate. He's a little bit angry, but I'm really pleased we caught this old croc because he wouldn't have lasted very much longer in this waterhole. It's drying up very quickly. Another 3 or 4 weeks, it would be completely dry and he would have died. I've no idea how old he is, but he must be very old. It is a male, And I'd say that he's been fighting for many years over his lady friends. At one stage, he's lost, if I can just grab hold of it, he's lost half his tail in a fight. He's lost his front foot, or half of it. He's got cracked ribs or broken ribs at some stage, and he's even had a fractured skull. I just hope that he'll last a few more years, because I'll take him down a broom and put him in a nice new pond.
Whereabouts did you have them tied last time?
It matters greatly.
No, one more.
Before release, he's given a good feed of fresh whiting.
Okay.
Right, now the idea of this one is it's made of grab on.
The crocodiles are fed mainly fish, and it's always a relaxing chore stocking the freezer. The trevally will go well on the barbecue too.
All right, I think that'll do us.
A small green turtle, a protected species, is quickly released. And if netting fails, bigger fish are caught offshore with lures. It's now late in the dry season. Time for Malcolm and Mark to head back to the Ord River. The Ord at Kununurra, rushing from the diversion dam, is cool and clear. Leaving the main road, it's along station tracks and down to the muddy, tidal reaches of the river, where Malcolm will try again to capture the elusive problem crocodiles. It's now excessively hot and building up to the wet season. The weaker cattle die of starvation. It's a hard, tough country at this time of the year, and only the fittest survive. Not far from the Ord River, mullet, trapped in a drying waterhole, rot in the tropical heat. Only minutes earlier, a croc heading for the river tracked through the wet mud of the empty billabong. This cow will die soon if the crocs don't get her first. It's back to trapping again. Releasing those crocs too small to cause trouble. Digging a trench, Mark looks up to see a crocodile out in midstream on a mud bank, and it's a monster. Malcolm quickly sets up his 600mm lens. The massive tail gives some indication of its size. Malcolm estimates that it's over 5 meters long, Sliding into the water, the mighty reptile glides past, almost defiantly. Late in the evening, the net's reset and baited. The putrid meat should attract the huge croc. No chances are taken while the net's baited. A man on lookout is vital. A shotgun blast would scare away any inquisitive crocs. With the pin set fine, the trap's left for the night.
The third day, as you can see, the trap has worked perfectly. It is one of the road crocs. It's not the really big one. He's still out here, just off the edge of the creek. We've already seen him 2 or 3 times this morning. What we have to do now is move very quickly, get one of the station trucks and get this crocodile up into some shade. It's incredibly hot this time of the year. It's only 7:30 in the morning. The temperature's already in the mid-30s and the humidity is very high. Incredibly enervating working under these conditions. By about midday, the shade temperature is going to be in the mid-40s. So we'll cover this croc quickly with hessian and keep moving.
The following night, success. Malcolm snares the huge crocodile he's been after for so long. A second rope's dropped over its top jaw to secure the croc until extra men and the station truck can be organised.
Slowly, Mark.
Several hours later, the assembled team swings into action.
Just try and keep him rubbing against those trees.
Okay?
Yeah, just slowly.
Oh, hang on.
Pretty close to getting this off his head. Settle down, boy. Settle down.
The men must work quickly before the morning heat makes conditions intolerable. Everyone's tense as the croc slowly winched from the water. It's a massive 5 metres and weighs around 600 kilos. The crocs are transported in the cattle crate to the main road and transferred to another vehicle for the journey to Broome. The crocodile's huge bulk can be clearly gauged against the size of the men. Malcolm drives through the night to keep the crocs cool, and there's a purposeful urgency as they're offloaded into the new ponds at the Broome Crocodile Park.
You want to wrap it right in?
Winching's the best way to move such large reptiles. It's imperative that the crocs are released into the water as quickly as possible. The crocodiles are held in individual observation ponds for several months until they adjust to the new environment. A tarpaulin over its eyes calms the anxious animal. Once they settle in, they have a voracious appetite. When Malcolm's certain that they're feeding well, each mature male's moved into a much bigger pond where he'll mate with a selected female. The handlers treat the huge crocs with caution and respect. Just a slap of the massive tail could cause terrible injury. It often takes several hours to move a large croc. Obviously, they're not at all cooperative.
Just tap the five as I'm waving him down, all right? Righto.
What a life. Growing fat, relaxing on a hot day under a cool sprinkler. Crocodiles are intelligent reptiles. When they see a bucket, they know it's feeding time.
Here's old Grandpa. We caught at Campbellin only about 6 weeks ago. Already responding. In fact, we can now just about hand feed it. Come on. There we are. That's the boy.
After the many radio reports of his capture, Grandpa's become a celebrity. Everyone wants to see him. Wendy Ellis, in charge of guided tours, has the smaller freshwater crocodiles caught recently responding to attention.
Hide your shadow.
I was trying to chop that wire off it.
There you go.
Are you going to look?
These two, the park's first successful breeding pair, are rarely apart unless it's mealtime. A few splashes and Jock can never resist a feed.
You can touch it and feel how soft it is.
Saltwater crocodiles are a recognised predator of man, and there have been several crocodile attacks in northern Australia during the past few years. However, these fatalities should not justify the killing of these fascinating animals. The Broome Crocodile Park display is Malcolm's way of encouraging awareness of these unique creatures. Few people travelling Australia would ever see such a remarkable performance as this. Big bombers enjoying a wallaby found dead on the road. Crocodiles are the largest living reptiles. They've roamed the earth for 150 million years. Today, there are 27 species of crocodile, many of them pushed to the brink of extinction. Australia is a world leader in ensuring the protection of our two species, and there's now hope that they'll survive for future generations to admire. Malcolm's totally committed to helping people appreciate crocodiles. Daily guided tours are always a success. Although still developing his park, he's already breeding crocodiles.
See that double eye there?
These babies, only 9 months old and growing rapidly, are a big hit with all the visitors.
Well, this is what it's all about. Educating the public, making them aware of crocodiles, and also breeding crocodiles. We'll keep a bank of these young ones here, and as they breed up, I'll release them back into the wild. If you're ever in Broome, pop into our crocodile park. We'll make you very welcome.